All right. Good morning, everyone. It's Michael Parrish, the Senior Vice President of Client Development here at Halo Therapy Solutions. Happy Wednesday, as the kids like to say. I think it's Wednesday. These days are flying by. I'm excited to have another episode of Inside the Wellness Mind. Today, we're joined by Kirk DeWaele of MADabolic. And those of you that have been following along know that fitness is certainly a passion of mine. And whereas wellness, as I was telling Kirk a second ago offline, certainly has a huge part of my heart. If looking at the heart as a whole, you were looking at the portion of the heart that loves fitness, it'd probably be the larger portion. But thankfully, those two now in today's day and age often fuse together, wellness and fitness and
Yeah.
recovery. So, yeah, so I'm excited to have Kirk on. Kirk let me know that he doesn't do this as often as his partner, so I'm grateful, Kirk. And without further ado, Kirk DeWaele, thank you so much for joining us here on Inside the Wellness Mind.
Yes. Thank you for having me, Michael. It's like you alluded to, I'm not a big podcast kind of public speaker type. My business partner, Brandon Cullen, usually handles that for us. So, um, but I'm excited to do this. It's rare, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate your time, and we're grateful. So, I gave you a little bit of my backstory before you and I were on live here, and with that in mind, if you could give us, and just so you know, most people are going to be, of course, seeing this down the line, and
Yeah.
this is always recorded. So, for those that are going to watch it, and there are going to be quite a few over the span of time, can you just give us your backstory, and then we'll very quickly head into the world of metabolic.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. So, originally from Canada, both myself and my business partner, Brandon, we grew up in Canada playing hockey, chasing the elusive NHL dream of trying to make it to the NHL one day, and didn't quite make it there. Grew up playing in the major junior leagues in Canada. I was lucky to be drafted by the New York Islanders in
Nice.
1994 now, so it's been a while.
Hold
But
on, you
yeah,
said that with a sigh.
yeah, the years keep
1994.
1994, the years keep flying by, and yet it seems so close. But yeah, so I was lucky enough to be drafted by the Islanders. Didn't obviously, like I said, didn't quite make it to play in the NHL, but I bounced around the minors for 11 years, um, and ended up, having some great experiences. I got to experience playing overseas in England for 3 years, which was super fun. Um, Made my way back to North America and finished off my hockey career here in the city of Charlotte, where we are based out of now. They have a minor league team here called the Charlotte Checkers, and both Brandon and I were on the same team, and we both kind of were at the point of our careers where it was time to look at what's next. So we jumped into the CrossFit world back in 2008-ish, right before it kind of exploded. And we owned a CrossFit gym for a few years, and there was just something we saw that there was a hole in the market at the time where you had kind of group fitness going on at your big box gyms, and then you had CrossFit and sports specific training. There was really nothing in the middle for the the everyday individual that wanted good strength and conditioning. Um, at least that was our thought. We just didn't think it was out there. So during our CrossFit, years, we tested out, different workouts on different days, and noticed when we removed the barbell from the workouts, and made it, less technical, that our clients really enjoyed that. So we kind of figured we were onto something, and then that's kind of where metabolic initiated from, was that idea of just kind of removing the barbell and making strength and conditioning a little more accessible to a lot of individuals.
Yeah, that's amazing. When I looked at that and read that you guys removed the barbell, that, and we'll get into that a little bit, but that probably did a lot of things. Of course, remove some complexity and some of that technical aspect,
Yeah.
because you and I know if you make the idea is to always have great form, of course, but the barbell, boy, it's unrelenting if you make mistakes in form.
Yeah, it's very unforgiving, right? And you know, luckily for us, if you're trained, and I mean, we had been trained in the barbell for just growing up through hockey, right? And
Hmm.
you kind of take that for you know for advantage because when you get into the group scene and you have somebody come into your gym that's never really used a barbell, um, you know, never done a power clean or a power snatch or whatever it is, it's you can it can things can go wrong fast, right? And
That's
if you're
right.
not attentive in that kind of that when you're training somebody, you got to be on your game. And in the CrossFit scene back then, it was you know you'd have 25 people in the class throwing barbells around, and it was chaos. So you had
That's
to be
right.
on your game. Yeah.
Yeah, because CrossFit, that's Greg Glassman, right? That
Yep.
coalesce that community. I always tell people that when they ask, "Hey, Michael, have you ever done CrossFit?" Yeah, I've been in some boxes, but I was CrossFit before there was CrossFit, which was in the military. We were, unbeknownst to us, engaging in CrossFit, and it was really for us. It was simple as, "Hey, let's take that tire," and this is 30 some odd years ago. Let's take that
Yeah.
tire because that's heavy. And let's take those dumbbells, and then let's take that rope climb, and then let's do some flutter kicks over here. And then Jim and Jeff and George, I want you guys to run around the complex 7 times,
Yep.
and we're gonna
Yep.
run this sequence. And then, but we didn't do any Olympic lifting. And then early on, CrossFit, was it always Olympic lifting heavy, or did that morph into something?
It was always part of the program, you know, like there would be days where like the workout of the day was like a 5 by 5 back squat. And that's, you know, or 5 by 5 squat cleans, you know what I mean? That was the workout of
Yeah,
the day.
right.
So it was always part of the program, I think. Just once they introduced the CrossFit Games, it just took on a whole new level. Even with if you look at the athletes in the games back in 2010, what they were lifting compared to what they lift now. I mean, it's impressive what they can move now.
Yeah, it's both scary and impressive. As somebody who's
Yeah.
here at the age of 53, being the former SWAT guy, I remember tweaking my back here and there, and that wasn't per se related to. I mean, there might have been some misalignments here, but a lot of that was related to being in awkward positions as a SWAT team operator with
Yeah.
80 pounds of gear on, and maybe
Yeah.
even some experience in SEAL training. But yeah, I it's impressive and scary. So when you remove the barbell element, did you guys find that through dumbbells, and of course we'll get into the metabolic system, that you were able to then sort of open up the possibilities with modifications?
Yeah, not necessarily modifications. It was just like more it was less intimidating, I think,
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people. The barbell can be pretty intimidating if you've never used it before. So for us, we're like removing it and adding in dumbbells and kettlebells and med balls.
Love it.
We still we figured out that we were still able to get people stronger without that intimidating factor of the barbell.
And when you guys pivoted from CrossFit, launched Metabolic, that was 2013, single location. At that point in
Yeah,
time, were you even thinking? I mean, you're at, was it 40 locations and growing? I mean, that's
44. Yeah,
okay. 44. That's
yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Um, but when you first launched, did you have that vision to that you would even be at the point where you have 44 and growing locations?
No, honestly, so we opened 2011, I think.
Okay.
And we at the
Okay.
time we still had our CrossFit gym. And the plan was we did not franchising was not on our minds. It was just like let's take over Charlotte. Our original goal was let's open up the one unit in Charlotte, and then if it goes well, maybe we'll you know add a few more over the years. That was our original plan. Um, when we opened the doors, we had such good support from the community. We grew fast, and somebody approached us about partnering with them in a different city, and we didn't really know them at the time, and weren't really comfortable partnering with somebody that we didn't know super well. So we that's when we were just kind of like, maybe we should look into franchising this. And that's kind of where it started. That's where the whole conversation started from. And because we kept having people, ask us, is you need to bring this to this city, or do you need to bring this to this city? So that's where we looked at it. We hired a business consultant out of California, and he kind of took us through the FDD process, and the rest is history.
That's awesome. Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's so great to hear you. It reminds me. Some would say, "Wow, okay, MADabolic, we're 2013, it's 2025, 44 location. That's tremendous growth, particularly probably as of late, right?" And
Mhm.
it seems my sense is that you spent quite a bit of time and you were intent on probably early on designing MADabolic such that it seems to me you're probably painstaking with what you wanted to deliver to the marketplace. On those
Yeah.
early days, 2011 to 2013, was that like the petri dish time where you're really drilling down on what you wanted to
Yeah, I think
provide?
it's always been a kind of a work in progress, and we're always
Hmm.
looking to improve our program. But 2011, the workout in 2011 was is wildly different than what it is today. A little chaotic. And then
Okay.
once so we opened 2011. 2013 is when we launched the franchising aspect of the business, and from that point on, we were very particular about who we wanted to franchise with. We weren't interested in huge growth. It was just me and my business partner Brandon. Um, so two kids from Canada, didn't go to college, didn't have a business background. So we were just kind of learning as we went, to be honest with you, and didn't advertise, didn't put $1 into advertising. We just let
Wow.
it naturally grow. And probably, hindsight, we probably should have been advertising back then, and that the growth trajectory probably went a little bit been a little better. But yeah, we were very particular of who we franchised to, and we just slowly grew. And we got to, I think, 10 or 11 units in about 2018, 2019.
Okay.
And that's when we kind of were like, all right, we've taken it this far. Do we want to grow this thing more, or are we fine at where we're at? And we both decided we wanted to continue to grow it, and we partnered with a private equity group, and they came on in 2019, and infuse some capital and help us kind of just develop the growth program. So the last, since 2019 till now, we've gone from 12 to 44. So it's been
That's
it's been a,
fantastic.
it's been quite a change. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of, and then in a moment, I'd like to get into the metabolic system, where that path reminds me of Five Guys. Five Guys, burgers and
Oh yeah.
fries.
Yep, yep.
So I grew up. Now, granted, of course, that's not fitness. That's smashing hamburgers. But
Yeah.
but I grew up with the Five Guys.
Okay.
So Mr. Jerry Morrell was Chad Morrell's father. Chad would come to our kickboxing academy. He wasn't overly dedicated, but he'd come and we went to high school together. And then I hadn't seen his father in probably half of a year. That was not normal. And then one day he showed up on a Friday night. Everybody wanted to come watch Friday nights because it was Friday night fights where we would
Oh
beat
yeah.
the crap out of each other. So
Yep.
people would come watch. So Jerry comes in and I'm a 14-year-old kid bebopping over, and I have my mouthpiece, take it out. Hey, Mr. Morrell, how you doing? He goes, hey, Michael. I said, where have you been? He goes, well, yeah, still working, but we're going to be launching a business, and we're going to call it. Or I said, okay, what's it going to be? He said, well, it's going to be burgers and fries. And I said, well, what are you going to call it? He's like, I don't know what we're going to call it, but I think maybe there's me and my four sons. I think we might call it Five Guys, Burgers and Fries. And I was like, oh, okay. And I remember just giving him either a high five or some knuckles. I don't think we were doing
Yep.
knuckles back then. And and then 6 months later, they started their first location down in Beauregard and King Street, which is in Alexandria, Virginia. And for
Okay.
many, many years, they just grew very slowly for many years.
Yep.
And they didn't even have Jerry didn't even have a vision for franchise growth. But his sons, as they started to perfect and refine their system, probably this is probably 20 years ago now. They were leaning on their dad. Hey, let's franchise. Let's franchise. So they went from like one, kind of like you. They went from 1 to 10. It took them a lot. It took them, in their case, it took them 10 years plus to do that.
Yeah.
But then they franchised, and of course now there's a
They're
Five
huge.
Guys.
Yeah.
They're huge. So it kind
Yeah.
of it's yeah. There's this foundation you've been building, which is quite impressive. Especially when I learned that. Well, I was originally thinking 2013, but now that I'm learning that it was 2011 where you launched, I think there's some distinct advantages to having thought through and been painstaking and created what you've created now. And speaking of what you've created now, as someone who used to have a group fitness camp when I was in SWAT, I love what you guys are doing. So walk us through what the MADabolic system is, because I think there's some special things in here that do separate you from other group fitness companies.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we launched our biggest, like I alluded to earlier, our biggest thing was there was like CrossFit and then group fitness at the Y, and there was nothing in the middle. We wanted to create that white space, right? But because of our background, um, with professional hockey and also CrossFit, there was no real coaching going on in these group fitness classes, and as we were coming up, you had Orange Theory came along and they exploded. And then the F45s came along and they exploded. Um, and I'm not a huge, like, we don't talk bad about other brands, but there was
Mm-hmm.
just, in our world, what we knew of strength and conditioning, that's not what was happening, at our
Yes.
competitors. So
Mm-hmm.
we said, what is happening there that we don't want to happen in our doors, right? And it was structure, it was less chaos, and it was trainer accountability. And
Love that.
so our thought process was, let's simplify our workout. So every one of our workouts, there's only 5 movements on the floor, right?
Okay.
And within those 5 movements, the way we kind of group it out for a class setting is we have a plate color coded system on the floor. So we have 5 groups. We have a white, teal, uh, light gray, dark gray, and black, right? And those are if there's a weighted element, white is going to be the lightest, all the way up to black, it's going to be the heaviest, right? So our
Okay.
our classes, 20 to 25 people in the class, 5 movements, and you just kind of move through the 5 movements. The intensity of each day changes. Some days are intense, and some days are less intense, right? So the acronym MAD, that's how we kind of program our workouts. So the M stands for momentum. So those type of workouts are more athletic based in nature. And the pace is going to build from a 70 to an 80 to a 90% by the end of the workout.
Love that.
Anaerobic days, those days are like our intense one-to-one work to rest ratio days where speed and power is the focus. And those days are probably, they're going to hurt, right? And then yeah, our durability days, the D, that's kind of where it's kind of boring. It's boring movements, right? It's like grueling, like you're lunging and sprawling, doing Turkish get up variations and
Uh,
stuff that you can't move super fast through. You just have to grind through it. Um, so they're not sexy by any means, but they are needed. And we focus on a lot of unilateral training on those days. So single-sided movements. Um, so that's kind of, that's the gist of how we program our workouts. And it was
love
just,
it.
the focus was like, let's actually do strength and conditioning movements. Um, we're not going to do a movement just to get somebody's heart rate up. We're going to do movements that actually help people, whether it be in their sport or in just everyday life. So, um, yeah, that's kind of the
I love that.
sum.
And especially that I was looking at that. So momentum, anaerobic, durability, and the way you guys segment that out and really within the confines of a 50-minute class,
Yep. Yep.
and 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 not, I like this distinction that you draw as well, not cheerleading but actual coaching, which can be some
Correct.
cheerleading but more importantly coaching.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
With that one, it's yeah, there's a lot of people that have never been taught how to move, right?
mm,
Something as simple as a lunge, a walking lunge, even a step up. When you can focus in on the minor details and the minute details of each movement and actually help somebody, um, you know, that's where the difference happens, right? That's how you can help people get stronger or get
I
better
want
at
to give you
movement.
a big high five right now. I wish I was in the
Yeah.
same. I would just slap
Yeah.
you high five. That that concept of those small differences are what make the big difference in the grand scheme. But
Yeah.
you gotta concentrate on those little corrections and those minor improvements.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah. It's we expect a lot out of our trainers, and it's probably helped us and hurt us because not to be not to talk down on the fitness industry, but there's a lot of fluff out there, and there's a lot of like just mediocre trainers out there that don't really know movement. You know what I mean? They may have
Right.
taken a certification and learned through that, which is fine. But nobody's really taught them how to move, and what is the proper technique for different movements. And like you just alluded to, it's the small details that make a big difference in a client's journey.
Do you think, and this is just us taking a left turn just because one thought sparks another, do you think, in your experience or in your opinion, that a trainer can truly show someone how to move if they themselves haven't subjected themselves to the movements with which they're espousing this person should adhere to?
No. Yeah, that's a big, for me, that's a no. I think, and we always say this when we have trainers come into to our trainings, is if you can't perform a movement yourself perfectly, how do you expect to teach it, right? And the one movement I always reference is the push-up. The push-up is the most underrated movement in fitness and the most poorly taught movement, especially in group fitness, right?
Yes.
And if if we have push-ups in the workout and you as a trainer can't perform a strict push-up, how do you expect to get that out of your clients? How do you expect them to get better if you don't know how to teach them how to get better, right? So yeah, to answer your question, no. And that's again, like, we want our trainers being efficient in their own personal movement first and foremost before they can teach it.
Do you guys put um, do you guys put your trainers through some sort of university or course or certification?
Yeah, we have like our own in-house training that we use. So every trainer that is in our metabolic system, um,
Nice.
first they come to Charlotte for training camp. It's a 2-day intensive training on like how we program and how we teach movement, right? Um, both of the at the end of those 2 days, we also put them through a testing standard, right? So we have 6 movements that we test them on, and obviously one of them is the push-up. Um, Squatting a certain amount of weight,
Mm-hmm.
dumbbell power snatch a certain amount of weight, kettlebell swing. What's your kettlebell swing technique look like? And then we make them sprint on the bike erg for 45 seconds, the concept two bike erg, and they have to hold a certain
Ooh.
pace for 45 seconds. And then we make them, kind of a little endurance test on the row erg for 1,000 meters, and they have to complete the 1,000 meters under a certain time frame. So once they've done that, then we also have an online kind of modules that they go through just to make sure they're taking in the information, and there's a little testing component to that. But once they've completed all that, then they essentially go through like a 4-week kind of onboarding at their location, where they are walked through
Nice.
slowly how to become a metabolic trainer, starting out shadowing the current staff, and then they'll slowly start to teach parts of the class, and then hopefully by the end of it, obviously they're proficient in it. And every one of our trainers has to submit a video to us, and I watch the videos, and it's
Wow.
it's essentially them teaching a class, right? And there's certain things I'm looking for, and if some things are missed, I send back a response. This is what they need to work on. Not approved yet. Give them another two
I
weeks,
love this.
resubmit in two
Oh
weeks,
man.
and then so yeah, it's extensive. But I think for our brand, we we put a strong emphasis on that trainer, and we want those trainers to be proficient in helping clients. So that's why we keep those standards high.
Man, that's really a thrill to hear that. Somebody who has benefited from very exacting training by other trainers
Yeah,
over the years, and who's been one myself. So that's where you really take someone, you can take someone that's, you know, coming in and maybe an average Mary or an average Joe, and with great training, great system like you guys have. I really love MAD, that not only that acronym, but what you guys are doing with your momentum days, your anaerobic days, and your tell me on the D again.
durability. Yep.
Durability days. Yeah. I love that. But yeah, the trainer is what makes or breaks
Yeah, yeah. The
everybody's
trainer. I
workout, but
mean,
especially group fitness.
yes, exactly. And like we're not big on like our trainers don't wear microphones, right? Like there's no more
Oh,
than
nice.
25 people in the class, so the trainer's job is not to um, pump the clients up and rah 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 high five them, all the time. We don't even, honestly, we're not big high fivers. If you want to give one of your clients some recognition, we give them, you give them the fist bump, or tell them a good job. But we're kind of
Yeah,
anti
I
cheerleader,
love
like you alluded
this.
to earlier, right? Where it's just
You're
like the
this is
trainer's
great.
presence is the trainer's job during class is obviously we're working out, right? But the trainer's job is to make sure every client in that class is getting um, cued and corrected on all the movements, and then the trainer's job is to guide the class through that day's pacing, right? And it's not the trainer's job to um, pump everybody up and motivate everybody. It's like we're here to train you and make you better at your own personal movement patterns. Yeah, our music will dictate a lot of the intensity.
Mhm.
Um, but it's like we want our trainers to actually train people and help them get better.
I love this. So this might be me over amplifying a point, but no, I don't think so. That's amazing. No mics, and it's ingenious because it just intuitively, if I do want to affect you, I can't do it from across the room. I need to go to where you are to
Yeah.
affect you and to improve you. I
Yes.
love that.
Yeah.
Did that just, was that just sort of a thought where you guys were thinking, yeah, no mics, not gonna be any mics? Or did you also tie it into some of those little nuanced aspects of how that would actually benefit the class on a one-to-one basis?
Yeah. You know what? A lot of it was partly from the CrossFit world, being in that world. The
Okay.
great thing about CrossFit is they're great at teaching movement. That is the one good thing, and we still have a ton of
Mhm.
respect for the CrossFit methodology. But the CrossFit Level 1 certification, how they teach movement, that's what we learned from them, right? And then when we got into metabolic, if I'm being honest, the microphone back then was the group instructor at the Y has the microphone on. They're at the front of the class, jumping up and down on a box and just screaming at people. And we thought that was pretty cheesy. And
Okay.
we didn't want to do that. We didn't want to be a part of the kind of the cheese factor of group fitness. So that's why we were like, no mics. Yeah.
Oh, this is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, I have a cheesy, I don't know, I have a cheese factor alarm and it just built in within me.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
that's great. Yeah.
I'm the same. And I'm 49 years old, so I probably get a little grumpy and as I get older every year, but it's just like the cheese
Oh,
gets, I feel like the cheese is getting worse and worse. So it's
yes.
yeah.
There's a lot of, idea is great, and well, enthusiasm is fantastic, but
Yeah.
what's better than all of that is just simply authentic, focused, articulate, passionate example and instruction.
Yeah.
And anything else can perhaps add to the overall experience, but it certainly ought not to be used to replace how you actually affect people to get them to a better version of themselves.
Yeah.
I love what you guys are doing. This is great. All right, so I'm taking a U-turn here for a second. All right, so with this in mind, you were asking me earlier where you, because I'm originally from Northern Virginia. You've got 5 locations up in that metropolitan area,
Yep.
I think.
Yep.
What about Florida? Where are you in Florida? Are you coming to
Florida, we got
Sarasota?
uh yeah, unfortunately we were in Sarasota and
What?
like yeah, we were at, at franchising we always say is
Yes, I got it.
it's it a lot depends on the operator, and we have had some closures unfortunately, and
As
it
has
sucks.
every, yeah, as has every
Yeah.
franchise. Well, let's seize on this for a moment because this is really important then. So, because that's just the reality of franchising. But this will get back to something you mentioned a little while ago, being very deliberate and clear on the type of operator or owner that you would like to have operating and owning a metabolic
Yeah.
location. So, what is it? Do you guys have a blueprint? What are you typically looking for in the type of person? Notwithstanding, their financial capabilities, but the type of person. What do you guys typically like to see?
Yeah, so what we've seen, and when we decided to partner with our private equity team and we decided to take this growth strategy on, we had to take some risks where we had it, and absentee owners, like purely
Mm-hmm.
investors that we brought on, and some are great, and some just kind of treat it as like a secondary business. And for our model, it's you have to be hands-on. So we thrive in the kind of owner operator model first and foremost. We do have some absentee owners that are good at managing, and they are very successful as well. But we have had, the few owners that kind of hands off, don't hire correctly, and then everything kind of goes by the wayside.
Yeah, it gets, man. Doesn't it always come back to the power and the skill set and the passion and the involvement of, you need that lightning bolt in your business,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and
You need
hopefully
you
that
need
was
the you
you.
need somebody that's can keep the team accountable, that can spot, that can recognize things aren't going wrong and you need to pivot. And if that's not happening, right, like we like business is our business. It's not hard,
Mhm.
or it's not complicated, but you have to, like, you got to put in the time. You know what I mean? Especially in
Yes.
the pre-opening and the first 2 years, like you're working. You know what I mean? The to me, work-life balance. If you're a business owner, work-life balance doesn't exist. You know what I mean? It's your life. It's
It
part
is
of
your
your
life.
life.
Yeah, and I don't know if people are going to accuse you at 49 and me at 53 of being too old school with this, but
Yeah.
I think when you're passionate and you love what you do, yes, of course, work life balance with respect to, is your family getting what they need? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I don't know. In my experience, when you're passionate and you love what you do and you're making a significant impact in the lives of others, it is what you think about, talk about, and seek to improve almost on a 24/7 basis. So,
Yeah. 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 I'm the same. I mean, and me and my business partner, Brandon, that's been our philosophy since we were 16 years old, trying to make it to the NHL. Like all growing up playing hockey, all I thought about was playing hockey. How can I get better at hockey? And then when that chapter closed and we got into business, it was just like the mind shifted just to a different category, right? And from then on, when we opened this, even from our early CrossFit days, it was like, all right, how do we, like, business is the ultimate game now. I'm done playing hockey. Well, now we got a new game, and what are we going to do to make this thing the best that we can? And like you said, it's you're thinking about it all the time. You're talking about it all the time. So yeah, maybe we are old school, but to me, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah. I tell you, one of the things that I love, because I was in prep for this, of course, looking at information. I was on your Instagram site, reading about you and reading about your partner and the former fighter in me. It warmed my heart to see that you guys have combat fitness, if you will, as a part of your protocol, which is to say, it looked like you might have had some teardrop heavy
Yep,
bags.
yep, yeah.
What
It's
was the inspiration for that?
honestly, both, playing hockey. Hockey is a physical sport, right? So
Yeah.
it's less physical these days, but growing up, when Brandon and I were playing, we had to fight. And it was just part of our off-season training. Was, we would both obviously didn't know each other at the time, but we were both doing boxing in the summers as part of our off-season program. And when we opened MADabolic, MMA was, it was kind of, that's when MMA was getting going too. So we were like, you know what, like,
Yes.
what is the cool trendy thing right now? MMA. Let's make that a part of our program. So each
I
one of
love that.
our every day, not every day, so 5 days a week, we are striking the bag. So and it's just, that's all
Really?
it is. It's
Okay.
striking. It's just striking. We're not, we
Good.
don't do it, we don't do kicks or anything. Like, obviously it's a teardrop bag, so it's tough to kick
Hmm.
it. But yeah, it's just striking technique, rotational force, and we think
Oh, I
that's
love
obviously
that.
an important part of fitness. So yeah, we brought it in the program, and we've played around with, obviously you had boxing kind of come onto the scene when you got, Rumble and 9 Round and Rock Box. They were, you know really taking on the boxing kickboxing kind of theme. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, we threw that in there, and we just think it's such an important part, and it's, it, throwing punches and hitting stuff is fun when you, especially,
It's
when you're when
therapeutic
you're
too.
stressed. Yeah, it's therapeutic, right?
Ladies love
So
it. Tell
it is.
folks it's amazing how not necessarily pugilistic ladies are, but just there's something about when a woman gets to hit a heavy bag, they feel empowered as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's impressive too is having a client come in your doors, not knowing how to throw a punch, never
Yes.
thrown a punch on a bag before. And then in 6, 9, 12 months, seeing their technique transform when they came in and they're just kind of, throwing pillows on the bag. And then a year later, they're smacking the bag. It's fun to see.
Yes. That is fun to see. I harken back to, again, as I mentioned earlier, when I was in SWAT. One of our days was combat fitness days, and we had mitts because this was in a 60,000 square foot soccer dome, and you know, and we at one point we had 300 members that were coming at 4, 5, and 6 a.m. 5 days a week. But combat fitness days became the days where they just would not want to miss it. And you're
Yeah.
right, to see that transformation, to take someone who wasn't coordinated, couldn't generate power, wasn't able to recruit, they didn't know how to get their nervous system to fire properly, and,
Yep.
and to see significant advancement in coordination, like you say, that's the best way to explain it. Hitting it like they're hitting with pillows to really driving and smacking thunderous blows on
Yeah.
those mitts and those bags. It's satisfying to see it
It
and
is
for them.
satisfying. Yeah, yeah, it's satisfying to see. It's satisfying to see them do it, and it's also, it's 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 part of developing our clients, right? It's like, not only are we
Yes.
going to make them stronger, we're making them more functional. And I mean, it, like, today it's crazy out there today, right?
Hmm. That's
So if
right.
you can
It
protect
is.
yourself, that is such a huge asset to have.
You know what else is satisfying? And you and I kind of giggled about it earlier, but we can use the word giggle. It might be a little cheesy, but we laughed about it earlier. We chortled about it. Is what else is satisfying is also seeing a strapping, solid, muscular human come in who also has never really worked with a heavy bag or a teardrop bag in this case, who gets humbled very quickly in a good way,
Yeah.
um, and watching them struggle on a bag, even though they might walk in looking like Lou Ferrigno.
Yeah. It's funny when you see that the big male presence come in, right? They're all ripped and they're like, yeah, I lift, and I'm strong. And then they get to the bag and they couldn't fight their way out of a paper bag. Um, so but watching them too, like just watching that
Progress,
that
yeah,
strong person progress, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, you're like, when you get to the bag, you're like, oh, that's
I
impressive.
love
So
that. I love that. So, and one of the things that I was saying, that durability day, that's a gem of a day. And thinking
yeah,
about Turkish get ups and having that mixed in during the weekly flow, that's a workout in particular that forces you to not, when I see certain boutique fitness, and I just love fitness generally and broadly. If anybody's making an attempt, that generally I'm like, okay, great. But the painstaking nature of me loves to see workouts that force the mind body connection, because that's where
yeah.
true strides and skill can set in, and advancements in your results can increase. So that's a really important day, that durability day.
Yeah, and those days typically we're moving for longer periods of time as well,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you're moving anywhere from, 2, 3, 5 minutes at a time. And the goal on those days is to move at a
Nice.
pace where you don't rest. Like we don't want you moving for 45 seconds, putting the weight down for 30 seconds, resting and then recover. Like we want you to move the whole 5 minutes, if like something as boring as a farmer's carry. We probably wouldn't farmers carry for 5 minutes, but we might do like a single-sided farmers carry for a minute
Mm-hmm.
and 15 seconds, and then you switch arms every minute and 15 seconds, but you're not putting the weight down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, so
And,
like
you, and
grinding through that long duration of like, all right, I got first of all, I got to make sure I'm pacing myself correctly so that I'm not stopping to rest, right? So forcing people to slow down is hard, especially if they're coming from a background where their previous workout was just go, 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 go.
yeah,
We come in and we have to, that's again, that's part of our trainers. They need to educate on like, listen, this is how I know you're used to doing it this way. I want you to do it this way. Slow down. It's okay to slow down. Like you got to give people like permission to be like, it's okay. No, no, it's okay to slow down. It's not,
that's
you
right.
don't need to be, you don't have to be dead and breathing on at on the bottom of the floor at the end of every workout. You know what I mean? Like you're going to be fatigued at the end of a durability workout. You're you'll probably be your mind will be fatigued as well. Um, but you're not, you shouldn't be like grasping for air on the floor. You know what I mean? Like it's like you get done those a durability workout and you're like, takes you about 30 seconds or 45 seconds to catch your breath. And like, whew, all right, that was good, and then
I
you're out of
love
there.
that.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
that's fantastic. All right, so what is what's what are the dues for members at a metabolic location?
It varies, obviously, depending on the market, but we're
Hmm.
anywhere from 150 to $200 a month, maybe a little
Okay,
higher in like a DC market where obviously the cost of living is
yeah,
higher. But yeah, it's
that's right.
most of our members are on an unlimited membership and unlimited, we're just like 4 days a week. Like we don't need to see you more than 4 days a week, right?
Hmm.
Our recommendation is come to Metabolic 4 days a week, do 2 days of like active movement, whether that's like if you're a runner, like go for a long slow jog, or go for a hike or whatever, to go do yoga, right? Um, take one day off a week, completely off, but I think again that's a flaw in the fitness industry. It's just like never miss a Monday, and it's like 7 days a week or two a days, like all that bullshit. Like that's
Yeah,
that's not what we don't preach that stuff.
yeah, and that gets into the importance of proper an overall well-balanced approach to fitness and wellness. And of course, recovery is a big part of that.
Yeah.
Um, with recovery in mind, well, let me ask you this: what's the size of your footprint on average?
Roughly about 500 to 3,000 square feet.
2,500, 3,000.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
And do you guys do anything with respect to recovery or wellness equipment, or is that potentially something you might look into down the road?
No, I think our honestly, like I think the our focus is our program.
Mm-hmm.
Um, we I'm not a huge believer in this recovery. You need to recover. For me, I think recovery is you're eating correctly, you get enough sleep, and you're not overtraining yourself. If that's the way you train, you shouldn't have to be cold plunging 4 days a week, and then going to the sauna as well. You know what I mean? Like that stuff's
Yeah,
great. Like I love it
yeah,
myself. Once a week is good. I mean, and unfortunately, like there's studies coming out now on like cold plunging post workout is not beneficial for you, right?
mm-hmm.
Um, so there's like anything, it's the big shiny toy right now, right? The recovery aspect of fitness. I think you'll see there's only so many hours in the day for people, right?
Yeah,
And I think most people will prioritize spending an hour at the gym as opposed to spending an hour at a recovery studio. I mean, maybe I'm completely ignorant to that, but that's just my thought process. Um,
no, I
and
think there's, yeah, I agree. I think there's validity to that. I think, of course, you and I, and again, people that know me know that I'm thankful that I'm still at a very high level of fitness, and it's not by accident, of course. But um, same thing. The bedrock foundation of recovery, of course, is whole foods, healthy, well balanced meals and nutrition, hydration, rest, actual rest, off
yeah,
days, sleep.
sleep's
Of
huge. Yeah,
course,
yeah,
sleep is incredibly important. And then, of course, I'm in wellness, so thank God we have equipment that's unlike anything else that's out there. But I think with all that in mind, I think you're right. What'll happen is because there's a lot being thrown into the marketplace, and then when that happens, there's a lot of buzz,
yeah,
and then there's going to be wellness and recovery equipment that separates itself from the pack based on its actual efficacy and not just sort of, hey, doesn't that look cute?
yeah,
So, um, so yeah, it's all evolving on a day to day basis for sure. But yeah, if
yeah,
it, because you and I know it, you can, if there was a fountain of youth, then okay. But if I had the choice to, if I'm going to choose between, you don't always have to choose, but I have to choose between the wellness equipment versus the foundations of recovery, which are nutrition, hydration, rest, sleep. Obviously, that's very important, and
yep,
that's most important. So,
yeah, yeah. And that's
yeah.
what we would prioritize that, first and foremost, and that's how we like to educate our clients.
Hmm.
But I will say, like we love partnering with um, cold plunge sauna studios in our markets.
Hmm.
Where it's still great. You know what I mean? But I just think there's a little bit overhype on how it needs to be used, especially to the everyday person that's working at Bank of America. You know what I mean? Like it's one thing to if you're like a professional athlete, it's another thing if you're just working out for fitness and longevity. There's a little difference there.
Yeah, it's tough too because, and again, wellness means many different things to many people, but um, the science is clear and has been clear that a well designed fitness regimen is absolutely the best thing you can possibly do for
Yeah,
long term health and quality of life.
yeah,
Um, and then we always talk about in wellness, we always talk about affecting ourselves at a cellular level. But obviously, when you're, your momentum days are actually your anaerobic days, that is tremendous for cellular health.
Yes.
Putting yourself under anaerobic duress, and by virtue of that, forcing your body to learn how to uh, respire properly. So you're just naturally forcing yourself into better levels of inhalation and then exhalation, and what that does when you intake that oxygen more deeply, and what that does to your cells. So there's a lot going on that exercise is doing that gets you almost all the way there. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, the energy systems, right? We like to train the three different energy systems of the body, and
Mm-hmm.
um, it, we're primarily, training the aerobic phase in a lot of our workouts, just because it's 50 minutes, right? But you
That's
on
right.
anaerobic days, you're still getting that, you know, the phosphagen and the glycolytic response, and on
Yes.
certain days, and obviously the aerobic engine is the big driver, but yeah, like energy systems is huge, right? And if you train them correctly and you don't overtrain them, it's going to be so much more beneficial than overtraining.
Yeah, speaking of, you mentioned a world earlier that really is dialing that in, as well as any other, let's say, athletic group of people, or sport type, and those are mixed martial artists.
Yeah.
And a lot of the work that's being done over there at the, UFC Performance Institute, and all those folks, they're talking about energy systems. Well, I mean, look, I mean, anytime you have to defend yourself, if you've got suboptimal energy systems, you're going to find that out very quickly.
Yeah, right. You're gonna you'll learn that first. I learned that my first fight in hockey too. It was, you know,
Yeah.
when I was 16, I think I got my first fight, and it's you throw a continuous punch for 15 seconds, and you're trying to hold somebody off. Like I was done. I was like, oh
Trying
my
to
God,
hold
I
them
can't believe.
off. You have an
Yeah,
adrenaline dump.
yeah,
You're maybe even you might even be holding your breath, trying to
yeah, yeah. You're not
hold
breathing
and
correctly,
punch.
right?
You're not breathing correctly. There's a lot of torque. You're It certainly isn't like training. There's
No.
nothing like the actual real when there's another human being who's also trying to put some hurt on you.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
exactly.
so you're battling that fight or flight response, or you're
Yeah.
operating within it. Speaking, by the way, you mentioned a second ago or a little while ago that hockey's, I guess generally it's, of course, not as pugnacious as it used to be, but
Yeah.
you know who didn't get that memo the other night was the Panthers and the Lightning.
I saw that.
I, I I heard they brought it back to the 70s and 80s for a little
They
while.
did, yeah. They brought it old school, which I still love that. I remember, like, me and my partner Brandon, we played in the days where we we would get in the pregame warm up. They had to separate our teams. Like, I remember one season we would warm up, both teams would warm up together, right? And the amount of times in that season that we were just brawling in the warm up. So the league mandated that we had to have teams had to have separate warm ups because it was complete chaos. And when I mean, like, when you're in a warm up and there's no refs on the ice, and it's in a brawl, like it's scary because guys are skating around, sucker punching guys, and if you get
Yeah, that would
somebody
be.
that's super tough that grabs a little guy, and it's just like it was scary. But yeah, so that's
Unless
what that.
you need a bunch of dummies out there.
Yeah, yeah, and we did, like, most teams back then. Like, you had, three or four enforcers on the team that kept the other team in check. But when you get one of
And
those brawls, it's like,
what's usually setting that off in those environments? Is it just somebody chirping at another person and, hey, your
yeah,
skates are
yeah,
you,
it's a lot of things, right? It's the competitive nature. It's maybe something happened in a previous game.
yeah,
There's a lot, but I don't, and obviously you got kids that are 16 to 21 years old trying to prove themselves. So,
yeah,
trying to make it. So it was chaos.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So if as we flash forward, Kirk, and are you guys, do you have like 2 year, not necessarily plan? Well, of course you have plans, but what do you guys envision in the next 2 years or in the next five, or what's kind of your forward looking gaze? Are you looking at a certain number of units or just steady growth, being deliberate? How do
Yeah.
you view the next couple of years?
I think the fitness industry is in a weird spot right now. Obviously, with the interest rates where they're at, it's expensive, and there's a lot of challenges. I think you're going to see a lot of consolidation in the fitness industry, especially in the group fitness scene. We've even seen it here in Charlotte, unfortunately, with a lot of closures of certain gyms, and we just want to just keep continue to grow. You know, we want, first and foremost, we want to make sure our current franchisees can be successful. That is our big goal right now, is just get them firing on all cylinders first and foremost, because successful franchisees helps growth, right? Um, so we that's our focus right now, and just slowly continue to grow. Um, we want to. I think we've honed in on who our ideal franchisees are, and how they can be successful. So that's the slow growth, and then just the success of our current units is priority number one
Yes.
right now. Yep.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you have there's probably, I imagine, there are franchisees that you can fall back on, probably a core set of best practices and character traits, I imagine.
Yeah. 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 And it's probably not just in our world, but typically in franchise, you'll see, like, you'll have 20% of your units overperform, right? They are doing everything right, and more so. And then you'll have 60% of your units kind of, they're in the middle, but they're successful, and they're good, doing well. And then unfortunately you have, 20% that underperform and struggle. And typically that's what takes up a lot of the time, is like, how do we help them get out of the hole here, right? How do we get them up into that 60% range? And um, that's the challenge right now, because it's like I alluded to earlier. You have locations close, and that's, as a founder, it's brutal. It's brutal to see that. So we never want
Probably
that to happen.
probably eats away at you.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. When somebody invests, their life savings, and it doesn't work out, it's not good.
Well, but it's all part of the learning curve, and it helps you as an
Yeah,
organization get better as well. So I imagine you guys do what we did, not relegating it to a SWOT after action review, but it forces you into really drilling down on maybe what it was that was missing in that particular
yeah,
franchisee's
yeah,
world.
yeah. And we always reflect on, if we open a new studio, right? Like, all right, what went right during this opening? What went wrong? What do we need to stop doing? What do we need to start doing? Um, So yeah, we're always doing that, and I think we're always looking to improve our operations on how we can help our franchisees. Um, so
Yes.
yeah, it's you have to, right? I mean, that's business. You have to keep moving forward. You can't get complacent. Otherwise, it's a recipe for disaster.
So does financial review in some aspect, is that a part of that as well? Um,
Yes.
Guarding against profit fade.
Yeah. Yeah. It's all, and a lot of that too is, making sure the franchisees are qualified, right?
Mhm.
First and foremost. And we're looking at their P&Ls every month. And if we see something that's not right, we're talking about it. We're on the phone, and we're talking through it. And
Nice.
yeah,
Do
yeah,
you
it's
know,
you have to.
with that in mind, do you know a gentleman named Albert Ramos Jr.? Does that name ring a bell?
I believe I know the name from LinkedIn. I don't think I've met him though.
Yeah. So he and I connected fairly recently, and I even had him on Inside the Wellness Line. He's
Okay.
a real sharp fella. He's a fractional CFO. He started Valisites. He's their founder, and Stratego. But he has his passion and expertise is in helping fitness, wellness, have the systems, processes, and tools in place to really drill down on profitability, but do so in a way. He's got this very special way where he brings in AI to assist with that. But his passion is in making sure businesses um, are highly profitable. At a
Yeah.
minimum, he's probably somebody to at least connect with or have a conversation
Yeah.
with at a minimum.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's a very, very bright young man, family man, and got to get him in one of your locations because he's also a glutton for punishment. So
Is he? Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
we love those.
The more people we like to put through our workouts, the better. Yeah.
Oh, misery loves company. And I
Yeah.
said yesterday at a location I go to because only like 5 people showed up because it was like afternoon, so it wasn't peak time. And I was like, misery loves more company than this. We need more company. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So
We see that. That's funny you say that because we see that now on our anaerobic days when people know it's an anaerobic day. Like attendance seems to be a little bit lighter today, and it's like people know. Like if you're not feeling 100%, you're like I don't want to go do an anaerobic workout today. So people, it's
yes.
comical, but yeah, it's funny. It's funny.
All right, so I saw recently that uh, I saw in a video, it looked to me that Eddie Hertzman of Athletech News was either at one of your functions or you were
Yeah.
certainly, I saw an article, of course, but it looks like he was at one of your functions.
Yeah,
What was going
we
on
just
there?
had our yearly franchise conference in Charlotte last week. So
Great.
we all gather for 3 days, and everybody comes to town, and we talk business and operations, and we have a good time, and we brought Eddie in to do a little Q&A, and then he had a little you know kind of a conversation like this he had with my partner Brandon, and yeah, he's a beauty, Eddie. We've known him for since they got started, and we just developed like more of a friendship with him, and um, he's supported us, and we've supported them, and we love what he's doing over there. So, yeah, it was nice
Yeah.
of him to come in and speak. Yeah, he's a beauty.
Yeah. I remember when he had his very first opening bell ceremony. It was the opening bell ceremony
Yeah,
2 Januaries ago. We're on a very short notice. This was before the closing bell ceremony, and of course, he's since had some symposiums that maybe you might have gone to
yeah,
that
yeah. We went
summer.
to the summit
Yeah,
in the summer. Yeah,
yeah. So, but I remember getting an invite, and this was January 2024. Matter of fact, it might have been December, and it was a couple days' notice. And I was thinking, I don't know what I was thinking, Kirk, but I was thinking maybe 7 of us would show up because there was only like 3 days' notice.
yeah. I
And
know
of
we got the
course,
same.
I
Yeah,
didn't. Yeah, I didn't know Eddie Hertzman that well then, but went
right.
out to New York. Were you there at that?
No, we couldn't make that one, and then and I was bummed that we couldn't make it. We had
It
a
was a,
discovery day, I think.
it was
It was impressive.
it was awesome, and so hopefully we'll
Yeah.
do that again this year. But we all went out, didn't know what to expect, and everybody was out there on a whim. And Dave Van Daff, if you know DVD, he was there,
Yeah.
and just some other folks. But it was great. Yeah, that opening
Yeah.
bell ceremony was well. I don't know how Eddie did that 2 minute speech. He knocked it down in 2 minutes.
Yeah,
But
right.
he's doing some
You can
great
talk.
stuff there at Athletech News. Yeah, he can talk for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, they're putting out great stuff, and he's a smart guy, so they're doing well. Yeah.
well, you guys are from the outside looking in. You guys are, for what it's worth, you're well respected, and your authentic approach and unwavering commitment to your system, even and again, I'm now someone who's a little bit closer to outside looking in because you and I are chatting, but just on the outside looking in, great branding. I love your system. You guys you're authentic. That attention to detail that you don't waver off of. It certainly shows up in those many happy but also challenged faces that you see on social media.
Yeah.
And I have no doubt that when people go home, MADabolic is something they're proud of being a part of when they're with their families. And I'm sure that that's progressively proliferating in the markets that you guys are in. So keep doing the great work that you guys are doing.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for saying that. Yeah, we well, our goal was, when we kind of started franchising this thing, was to be the best group fitness strength and conditioning program out there, right? Obviously, there's different avenues of strength and conditioning, but group fitness, our goal was, let's be number one. And it's it's been, there's ups and downs with every business, right? But it's been rewarding, and I think, educating the consumer on why we are different, why we're better is one of our biggest challenges. But once we can get people in the doors and they can see it, I think that's the changeover that happens. It's just, like any, like any business, is like getting the client in the door is the most challenging part. So, um,
Yes,
but yeah, yeah,
the most important part is getting the
yeah,
client in the door, and of course,
yeah,
keeping them is an important part, but getting them in the door.
yeah,
Um, so, in my travels, I'm going to keep. I'm going to be aware of where your locations are. So in my travels, one of my goals now is to somewhere find a metabolic training session. I'm going to make sure I reach out to you,
yes,
and
please do.
and because I am one of those folks that is also a glutton for punishment. And
Yeah.
so
How far is Tampa
we
from you?
oh, you're in Tampa?
Yep.
Okay, so I'm watching. So now I'm getting challenged. You're like, oh, okay, Michael, how far is Tampa? Oh, let's put your mouth let's put your butt where your mouth is, Michael. It's actually within striking distance, Kirk. It's an hour and 10 minutes away. Matter of
Yeah, that's
fact,
right. It's
yeah. So okay, so that means I have to go because I heard that Jocko Willink. I don't know if you know who Jocko
yeah,
is,
yeah,
but
yep.
he's gonna be in Tampa for a 4:34 a.m. impromptu workout in the parking lot of a Walmart up in Tampa. So if I can sign up
Oh,
for
really?
that, then I can obviously get out the metabolic out in Tampa.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
Yeah,
they were in Ybor City. I don't know if you know Tampa, but it's in
Ybor City.
a
Yeah,
yep, yep.
yeah, I know
So
that area. All right, so I'll have to get out for a workout out there one day and meet that team. I'll reach out to you. Let's make sure offline I get your cell so I can
for
stay in
sure.
contact with you. Um,
Yeah.
but are you traveling to any functions? Anywhere anybody can see you, or is the remainder of the year domiciled
No,
at your
pretty
locations?
much our travel's done for the year. We're gonna have an
Okay,
opening in Houston. We'll
nice.
be there. We usually go to all of our openings, obviously, and make
Excellent.
sure everything's firing on all cylinders there. But we're done with all the conferences and stuff like that. So it's we we like to maybe if something comes up, we're always open to going somewhere. But for now, the schedule's pretty light until the new year.
Now, if you come to when you not if, but when you come to Florida, um, so my goal now is to get to a metabolic location, and then when you come to Florida, I'll get you into a Halo Red experience,
Yes, I would
and
love it.
we'll benefit each other that way. I'll get you
Yeah,
taken care of, and or if you and I are somewhere where we're in a town where there's either a metabolic and or one of our locations where we have our Halo Red O2, then we'll get you out there. But
yeah,
I'm looking forward to the start of hopefully perhaps a friendship, and I'm excited about
yeah.
what you guys are doing. And by the way, great color scheme as well,
Thank
black,
you.
teal, and you see the
Yeah, it
logo up there,
pops.
right?
Yeah, it pops, right? Yep. It
Yeah, it
looks,
pops.
yeah,
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 and that was
yeah. With that,
deliberate, right?
yeah. I think it's evolved over the time, but over the years. We originally had a little gray in there, but recently, like a lot of our locations now, if you go to our location, like it's typically black walls with our teal accents. So and it really pops, and
Yeah, it
yeah,
does.
we're obviously biased, but we love it. Yeah,
No, it pops.
yeah,
It
yeah,
popped when I didn't really know you, and you and I hadn't shared some time yet. So it popped
yeah.
then, so it especially pops now. So
Good,
I
good.
yeah, I'm sure your merch also pops with that same
Yeah,
design
yeah.
and
We and
system.
we we like to stay true to the colors too. We don't
Mm.
It's not, we're not going to throw a yellow or blue or a pink shirt with our MADabolic logo on it. We're sticking to blacks, grays, and whites, and we keep it simple with our merch.
One last thing, because I was just thinking about it and I wanted to ask it, and then we'll wrap. What do you think about high rocks? As two fitness guys,
Um,
and understanding how important competition is just generally for certain people. What do you think of it?
yeah, yeah, I think it's great. I mean, they have obviously exploded. It's interesting to see if they can continue the excitement. It's we've talked to High Rocks a lot about partnering up and working together. I think their goal is obviously to reach as many people as they can, and they have a huge reach right now. Um, but I think the good thing about High Rocks is I think you don't have to train specifically for High Rocks to do High Rocks.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
you can strength train and interval train
Mhm.
and run a couple days a week and still be well prepared to do one. Now, if you want to go win one, different story, obviously. But I think it's great what they're doing. They're exploding, and we have a ton of clients that go to the races. Even some of our franchisees have done a few races, so um, we'll see if it has some staying power, right? Y- I think Spartan race back in the day, kind of
Yes.
the gates hot as
Spartan.
well, and there's obviously still they're still killing it, the Spartan race, but um, we'll see how long the excitement lasts.
Yeah, I have the same take. Once I looked at the events and the sequence, I felt, at least for a little bit of a stretch run, that High Rock would certainly be successful because, like you said, it's not complicated. There's not a lot of
Yep,
complex movement.
yep,
Um, cardio, you just get your cardio in line.
yep.
The ski erg doesn't take a ton of skill. I mean, there's some little nuances, but that doesn't. The rower
Yeah,
certainly, there's some nuances, but people can row. The broad jump's not overly difficult. Of course, some of the rules within that, anybody can achieve it. Whatever
yeah,
battles the fatigue.
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
that wall ball, as long as you typically touch your elbows to your knees when you're coming down, that'll sit you down far enough usually.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and then the the sled
Sled pull, push or pull.
pull
Yeah,
and push, that's grueling but doable. Yeah, I think they've got
yeah.
some staying
And I
power
think
until.
that's why they've done so well, right? Is like it's not like most people can do those movements. They're not super
Yeah,
technical. Even if you've never trained on them before and you joined a high rocks race, you'd probably figure it out. Which
yeah,
is,
and you
I think
yes,
that was their goal. Yeah.
and generally because they're not complex movements, relatively speaking, even when you're tired, if your form breaks down a bit, you won't. You're likely not to suffer a catastrophic injury.
Yeah. Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I was curious about that. Because I felt that you guys were, with the way that you guys train, you could certainly send quite a few folks to that to do really really well. So
Yeah. 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 Like I said, we've had a few that have gone, and performed well and said it was awesome, well structured. I think too the amount of people that do high rocks or compete in events, there's just as many people that don't want to compete too, right?
that's
So
right. Yeah.
there's that's you're always going to have two at two different ends of the spectrum, right? And me personally, my competing days are done. I mean, I still play men's league hockey, but that's the extent of it, where it's
Ooh.
not super intense, right? But
Well, intense for
yeah,
you. Yeah.
yeah, 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 yeah. But I don't. My days of trying to go win a race are long gone. So I don't have any interest in stuff like that. But it's impressive what they're doing. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's funny that concept. Every now and then someone goes, Michael, you're in great shape. Why don't you still fight? I look at him like, are you kidding me? At the age of 53, do you think I want to go? And
Right.
I fancy myself as being quite capable still. Thankfully, I
Yeah.
have a heavy bag in my garage that gets a lot of use in 16-pound, 16-ounce gloves, not 16-pound gloves, 16-ounce gloves,
Yep.
and then of course training 5 days a week and all that. So, but I look at them like, are you think I want to fight? Those days are gone. Those
Yeah. Right.
I look at young folks and I go, congratulations, guys, better you than
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
um,
Yeah. I was late in my career, right? I used to early on in my career, I would fight quite a bit. And then later in my career, like you don't want to do that because getting punched in the face is not fun. You know what I mean? It's like it's not fun at all. So what? I don't want to continue doing this anymore. So yeah.
yeah, you and I are too pretty ugly to be fighting right now.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyway, it's been a pleasure to have you on, Kirk. I thank you for having time. Thank you for doing this when I know you normally don't do this, but it means a lot to me. There's going to be a lot of great information to extract out of this transcript and um, a nice article that'll result as well. But I'm excited about what you guys are doing. I'm going to be cheering you guys on from afar. I'm going to get into a location in Tampa. We'll
Yeah,
get you into a Halo Redo too at some point in our
for
travels.
sure. For
And
sure.
thank you so much for your time today. It's been a blast.
Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, Michael. It was great to meet you and I enjoyed our conversation.
Likewise.